we keep getting. Then they leave, and they leave the road in very, very, very bad, in a more state than they even found it. And so therefore, we keep getting our vehicles, many accidents happen out of that negligence of the contractors. That's my question.
So CS, just respond to those few questions and then we close this session.
The question from Mheshimiwa Sena on Maralal Baragoi, let me confirm, Honorable Speaker, members, that we did procure a contractor for Maralal.
Senator, you cannot interrupt the CS. Yeah, you wait until he finishes.
We did procure a contractor for Maralal to Suyani towards Baragoi for 20 kilometers of pitmen, upgrading to pitmen, and equally for Kisima, Sura Aduru, on this other lower side for upgrading of 20 kilometers. Work should have started in earnest because this road was equally launched, and I will follow up to make sure that work has started. But yes, we have a contractor on these two pieces of infrastructure from Maralal towards Baragoi, 30 kilometers to Suyani, and 20 kilometers from Kisima to Sura Aduru, upgrading equally 20 kilometers. That will give a very good look to Maralal town, because you will have 30 kilometers towards Baragoi on the upper side, and you will have another 20 kilometers addition to the current tarmac that reaches Kisima today. With respect to Tom Agenda's question, time frame, before, Honorable Speaker, before Tom Agenda came to the House, I undertook that the designs have been completed and we are going to make budgetary accommodation for that section in the current financial year, and thereafter procure a contractor to correct and build the design that we have already done. With respect to Kinangop, we do know that I did mention equally that before Senator Fonyandarwa came into the House, I had indicated that we've paid all the pending bills to contractors. We had a big challenge, and without paying those contractors, and we owed them up to 175 billion. And if they abandon work, it was upon us to provide the funding. We've now made requisite funding. We've got them back to work, and they don't have any excuse for abandoning work. So this particular infrastructure, Mailikumi, Subuku, Sipalas, Shamata, all the way to these Shamata girls and so on and so forth, with that contractor, Boyman, Basenga, and all these infrastructures, particularly the ones funded by CDB, will not slow down. We'll ensure that the contractors stay on course, because as we speak today, there is no contractor who we owe money, and therefore we'll be strict to make sure that if it is a capacity of the contractor, we'll call them out. But if it is a question of funding, we have paid them, and we've made plans to continue supporting the contractors as they give us certificate for works done. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I want to thank you. Regarding Olekina's question on providing a mobile weighbridge, like I said, this is a piece of infrastructure. Weighbridges have only traditionally been more on national trunk networks with Kenya. We are having programs to bring in mobile weighbridge for Kera roads. It's a Kenya road. So we'll undertake to provide a mobile weighbridge to support that infrastructure. I want to undertake that. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. And thank you, members.
Honorable says our new member here is not being recognized by the system. So you can use the dispatch to ask your question. It's very fast from Baringo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Honorable CS. I've risen to inquire a question about the road from Laikipia, Churo, all the way to Loruk and Marigat. And it also connects those people from Kabedo, Chemalingot going to Nakuru. Mr. Speaker, last year, there have been a water increment in Lake Baringo, and it has totally swallowed the road from Loruk to Nakuru. And this year, again, the situation is worsening, Mr. CS. And I want to know whether the ministry is aware about the situation, because currently people are using private land for transportation. And anytime, the owner of the land may refuse his land to be used, and will be totally on mess. So, Mr. CS, I want to know whether your ministry is aware, and if so, what are the measures you've taken to ensure that the situation is bring to normality? Thank you.
Yes, CS.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll need to check. I don't know whether is the Luruk Marigat within the...
Restream, one live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want to multi-stream, go to restream.com.
Thank you, Speaker. We're building a number of pieces of infrastructure to support the road coming out of West Pokot through Kitale to Eldoret and down to Nakuru. And to that extent, there is a road from Parpelo to Sigor Marich Pass, which will come through the lower section. I do know that we have the Marigat, Muchongoi, Karandini. I need to check. But more importantly, the question from Senator Chemitei is of concern even to us, because some of our roads are underwater, and not just because of the rising lakes. And so we are designing the road and having to move it way up because of the climate change issues, and the fact that those of us who visit that particular region would really pay attention to climate change issues to the extent that a number of the tourist hotels are underwater today. Equally, the road, sections of the road are underwater. So we're designing roads as a matter of urgency, way above the water levels, and trying to understand what we all need to do as a country to address this question of rising lakes. And so I want to assure the House, I want to assure Mheshimiwa Chemitei that we will work on that. I'll want to pay more attention on where the design is today and how we are going to quickly support to relocate the redesigned road and provide funding to ensure that the people for this particular region do have access to markets and people can move to their homes. I thank you.
So, Honorable CS, before you leave, there were 3 commitments that were copied to your ministry. I understand the Secretary shared this information with the ministry. Whether maybe you have something to say about them. One was from Senator Mwihaji Faki, which was to follow up with the Kenya Urban Loans Authority to provide an explanation on the steps being taken by Kura to address the funding issues affecting the section of the rings loaned in Mombasa County near Quickmart supermarket. The other one is to furnish Senator Okongo Mogeni with information on whether the Kenya Railways Corporation commenced the construction of the Riruta Ngong single track meter gauge railway before obtaining an environmental impact assessment license from the National Environment Management Authority. And the last one was from Senator Mohamed Abbas, who sought information on the actions the government is taking to fast-track the construction of the... This is the same question he was asking Mondogashe, Samatal, and the Ramu Mandela sections of the Great North Road. Since you answered the this supplementary question from Senator Abbas. Maybe you can comment on the two from Mwenyehaji Faki and Senator Okongo Omugeni.
Thank you again, Speaker. Thank you, members. I did make a commitment to provide a response on the question, like you've said, Honorable Speaker, regarding the Quick Mart supermarket in Mombasa area, Link Road, which had been a source of perennial flooding because of the geographical locationing of that particular area in terms of being the lowest point, and the fact that investors did build both sides of the road and there was no waterway for the water to drain to the lower points of the rivers. Speaker, I do have a written response. I have signed it. Let me very quickly respond that the flooding section of the Link Road near Quick Mart supermarket in Mombasa was designed and elevated to elevate the 200-meter road section to provide for the carriage and walkway. I do have the response, including the pictures. That we've fully constructed the area. There is no flooding today. I want to confirm I did visit that particular section 3 weeks ago, and it's a beautiful piece of completed work with paved walkway already done, including rehabilitation of the Quick Mart section, culvert installation, sinking of new vertical drain, 5 in number, desilting of existing vertical drains, pothole repair and patching, and performance-based maintenance already signed up. We did spend 54 million Kenya shillings to do that work, and the place is looking good today, and the member will be aware that with the short rains that we have just witnessed, the place was a good motorable section. I will, if I have not already tabled, I will table the response for that particular commitment. The second commitment I did make with respect to Senator Abbas' question on Ramu, Samata, what do you call Modogashe, Samata, and Ramu Mandera, the last section of the corridor at Mandera. I've really answered this this morning in the course of engagements, but the government of Kenya had initially planned to upgrade the Modogashe-Hapaswen Road section under the Road Annuity Program, like I said earlier, as Lot 3 within the public-private partnership framework. The Lot 3 project included 68-kilometer Class A road from Modogashe-Hapaswen extending to Samata, as well as 75-kilometer Mandera-Ramu. The contract for upgrading of Lot 3 project was awarded to HAS Consortium GVR Infra in joint venture with Shandong High Speed Nile Investment Company. However, due to cost-related challenges, the government of Kenya decided to scrap the road annuity program, leading to termination of the contract for Lot 3 road project. As a result, the government is now shifting to engineering, procurement, construction, financing mode for upgrading of this particular Lot 3 section. In addition, through the National Treasury, the government of Kenya has requested additional funding from the World Bank under the Horn of Africa Gateway Project loan to upgrade the Lot 3 road project. This includes the only 2 unfunded section of Isiolo-Mandera Road, corridor of which Modogashe-Hapaswen section forms part. The delay in completing the upgrade of Modogashe-Hapaswen Road section is due to the challenges experienced in terminating the contract with the engaged annuity contractor, HAS Consortium, for Lot 3 annuity project, which required legal intervention and the delay in securing funds to compensate the terminated contractor due to budgetary constraint. That has now been done, and in addition, World Bank has taken up those 2 sections, like I did mention earlier. The short-term strategies, the government is consistent in maintenance of the existing roads through the road maintenance levy. This is through construction of engineered gravel road, as well as undertaking routine maintenance, spot improvements, and so on and so forth. But as soon as we bring on the contractor, we'll make sure we do equally maintenance ahead of works. It's a long, detailed response, Mr. Speaker, and I do have the written response which I've signed, and I will table it before the House. On the final one, regarding whether we did build the rerouter, let me just very quickly open this. There was that question 93 that I also undertook to bring a response, and the question was the current progress of works on the rerouter Ngong railway line construction. Mr. Speaker, the transport sector is recognized as a key pillar and critical enabler in achieving Vision 2030 long-term development strategy and bottom-up economic transformation. Development of efficient transport system in rural and urban areas is therefore a key factor in supporting the country's development strategies. The government of Kenya, through Kenya Railway Corporation, conducted a feasibility study that resulted in the development of Nairobi Commuter Master Plan 2019. The master plan identified key commuter line corridors for development modernization within Nairobi metropolitan area. That include Nairobi Kikuyu Limuru, Nairobi Rerouter Thika, which is also existing, Nairobi Lukenya Kitengela, Konza, which is also existing, Nairobi Jomo Kenyatta International Airport proposed, Nairobi Embakasi Village existing, and Nairobi Rerouter Ngong under implementation, which is the concern that the member raised under question 109. Rerouter Ngong Road commuter line, which will be linked to the revitalized Nairobi railway station, is also one of the commuter lines identified as critical transport infrastructure under the prioritized integrated transport system for decongestion of Nairobi metropolitan area. The rationale behind the preference of the commuter rail over road transport, that commuter rail is for mass transportation, where one commuter train carries up to 6,600 passengers, both standing and sitting, which is equivalent to 460 14-seater matatus off the road. I wish to indicate that for this particular project, the source of funding for the project is purely Government of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, as regards environmental social impact assessment study, the same was conducted in line with the Environmental Management and Coordination Act. I've also attached to my response, which I'll sign and table and deposit before the House. I also wish to add that the project is being implemented under the EPC or engineering procurement construction basis with an independent consultancy for design review and construction supervision in place. Because again, Speaker, members have got a comprehensive written response, let me beg to confirm that yes, we had a court case which has now been lifted and work will therefore progress. I thank you.
Okay, CS. That response is sufficient. We will table with the table office. So, Honorable Senators, that is the end of the session with the CS. Your supplementary questions with that most precision. And even though you are not even prepared for the questions, you are able to know where the rules are and the status of those rules. So, thank you very much indeed. All the best as you serve this good country of ours. So, yeah, that's okay. Yes, you are free now to. Sergeant Adams, you can collect the documents from the CS. Thank you. Thank you, Waziri. So, Honorable Senators, we now go to the next one.
Order number 8, motion mainstreaming of a framework for clean cooking in Kenya.
Senator Minda Kibwana is not in the House, so that business is deferred. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Report of the proceedings of the Artificial Intelligence Conference on the role of Parliament in shaping the future of responsible AI, held from 28th to 30th November 2025 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
I also, on this order, Senator Enoch Wabua is not in the House, so the order is deferred.
Order number 10, motion. Report of the Third Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Africa Region Conference held in Lusaka, Zambia from 24th to 28th February 2025.
Senator George Wambua has delegated this business to the Chair Liba, Senator Mulgo Julius. So go ahead and move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Africa Region Conference held at Ciela Resort and Spa in Lusaka, Zambia, 24th to 28th February 2025. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the motion that the Senate notes the report of the Third Commonwealth.
Senator, can I remind you I'm the one on the seat?
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. Parliamentarians with Disabilities Africa Region Conference held in Lusaka, Zambia from 24th to 28th February 2025, laid on the table of Senate on 7th August 2025. Madam Speaker, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association was founded in 1911 and in international community of Commonwealth parliaments and legislature working together to deepen the Commonwealth commitment to the highest standards of democratic governance and parliamentary practice. It offers parliamentarians and parliamentary staff the avenue of collaborative on the issue of mutual interest and share good practices. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association represents more than 180 parliaments and legislatures, 53 Commonwealth countries divided up between 9 geographic regions of Commonwealth, that is Africa, Asia, Australia, British Islands, and Mediterranean, Canadian, Caribbean, Americas, and Atlantic, India, Pacific, Southeast Asia. The Commonwealth Parliamentary with Disabilities was established 2018 and is one of the networks within the CPA that facilitates activities and programs to champion and increase the representation of persons with disabilities in Commonwealth parliaments and works towards mainstreaming of disability considerations in all CPA activities and programs. The CPWD Africa Region Network has held 3 conferences since its inception in 2018. The 3rd Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Africa Region Conference was held 24th to 28th February 2025 in Lusaka, Zambia, under the theme Breaking Barriers, Building Inclusive Parliaments for Persons with Disabilities. Kenyan delegation was represented by Timothy Wanyonyi, MP, leader of the delegation, and PWD Africa regional champion, Honorable Rose Muso, MP, Senator Crystal Asige, MP, Senator George Mbugwa, MP. The members of parliament were accompanied by the following officers: Mr. Polycarp Matara, Engineer Mutunga Mike. The first one was Clerk Assistant 2, and the second one, the Engineer Clerk Assembly, Engineer Maintenance Officer, and National Assembly. Delegates at the PW Region Conference discussed wide range of topics presented by inclusion of persons with disabilities in Africa, African context by Dr. Margaret Matonya from Zambia. Accessibility in action, designing physical spaces for inclusive parliamentary by Mr. Ibrahim Asante from Ghana. Policy pathway, effective strategies for implementation, disability inclusion in parliament by Mr. Meshak Matumba from Zambia. Culture and shifts changing in attitude towards disability in political institutions by Honorable Joseph Musanje, MP, Zambia. Resolutions to the 3rd Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disability Africa Region. Madam Speaker, after the deliberation of the main topics of the conference, the delegates adopted the following: recognizing the fundamental human rights and freedoms of all persons, including persons with disabilities, acknowledging the valuable contributions of persons with disability, expressing concerns that persons with disability continue to encounter barriers hindering their effective participation in parliaments in the Commonwealth Africa regions. Emphasizing the critical need for inclusive and accessible parliaments for persons with disabilities, welcoming the progress made by some parliaments in African region advancing the inclusion of persons with disability, reiterating the commitment of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association to promoting and governance democracy and human rights, including the rights of persons with disabilities. The conference resolved, 1, technology, digitalization, and the use of empowerment and inclusion of persons with disabilities in African context. 1, to encourage African parliaments to leverage the technology and digitalization to empower and include persons with disabilities. 2, urge the African parliaments to undertake comprehensive capacity building programs to equip parliaments and staff with skills and knowledge necessary for effective utilization of assistance technologies and accessive digital platforms. 3, further urge African governments to collaborate with organizations of persons with disabilities, technology experts to prioritize the development and implementation of imperfectful digital inclusion strategies. 4, furthermore, urge African governments to include disability mainstream discussions. And topic 2, accessibility in action, digitizing physical spaces for inclusive parliaments. Advise African parliaments to adhere the universal design principles in construction and renovation of parliamentary buildings, ensuring physical accessibility of all persons with disabilities. 2, further advance African parliaments to regularly conduct accessibility audits to productive identify and address barriers within the physical environment. Urge African governments to undertake the meaningful consultations with persons with disabilities. 3, policy pathway, effective strategies for implementing the disability inclusion of parliament. Encourage African parliaments to develop and implement comprehensive disability inclusion policies and action plans aligned with CRPD, articulating clear goals, targets, and measurable indications for monitoring progress. Further, encourage African parliaments to ensure that disability inclusion policies encompasses all facts of parliamentary work. Urge African parliaments to allocate adequate financial resources to ensure the effective implementation of disability inclusion policies. Culture shift, changing attitude towards disability in political institutions. advise African parliaments to implement awareness campaigns and training programs to combat stigma and negative attitude towards persons with disabilities. Encourage African governments to promote inclusive that showcases the contribution and capabilities of persons with disability. Urge African parliaments to actively champion disability rights. Further urge African parliaments to enact legislation that promotes inclusiveness of persons with disability. General resolution, the CPA African Region Secretariat, in collaboration with CPA headquarters, shall continue to support and facilitate the work of CPWD Network Africa Region, providing necessary resources and technology assistance to parliaments and implementing these resolutions. African parliaments shall resort to the regional secretariat on the progress of the implementation of these resolutions. The CPA African Region Secretariat shall include segment for members to report back on the implementation of the resolutions for the previous conference. The CPA Secretariat shall circulate proposed topics of the next conference to members to effect emerging issues, and at least 1 month before the next conference for approval. This conference calls upon the Commonwealth parliaments in Africa region to fully implement these resolutions and actively contribute towards building a genuinely inclusive parliament for persons with disabilities. These resolutions were unanimously adopted on 27th February 2025 by the third conference of Commonwealth parliamentarians with disability African region held in Lusaka, Zambia. Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request Senator Chirchir to support. To second, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator West Pokot. Senator Chirchir to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations for being elected as a temporary speaker for today's session. And that shows the faith the House has on you to discharge, of course, as a ranking member of this House, to be the temporary speaker for the purposes of the ongoing works. Madam Speaker, as I rise to second, because this is just a procedural motion and a report of the third Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Africa Region Conference held at Ciela Resort and Spa in Lusaka, Zambia, 24 to 28 February 2025, Lusaka, Zambia. Madam Speaker, I know this is a very interesting country. You remember they have not been able to bury their president called Edgar Lungu, who was a former president of Zambia, because of, it is a very interesting case like SM Otieno case. And I have a number of friends who are priests who normally do missionary work in Zambia, and I know Kenyans have an interest. It's one of the countries that Kenya prides itself for working closely. And I'm happy they hosted the issue. I have a friend who is called Father Teleo who just left Zambia, and he's telling me Zambia is a good country, Madam Speaker. But that being said and done is that I want to celebrate that we need to know the place of PWDs, Madam Speaker. You are aware of Article 54 on persons with disabilities. I think Kenya, Madam Speaker, has one of the progressive recognition of the youth, minority, marginalized, and PWDs. So the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the CPA, should advance not as a parliament. Because, Madam Speaker, if we are aware with the challenges and we play the role that people living with disability are able to do, Madam Speaker, it will be able to allow us, if we can recognize the law of PWD, we are the lawmakers. We are able now to make laws that will assist and ensure people living with disability or are differently able are able to discharge their mandates. Madam Speaker, as I speak, Madam Speaker, allow me also to send my condolences and messages of goodwill, because last week, Thursday, a building or a latrine collapsed in Kapsabet School for the Deaf in Kapsabet, where we lost a student and a number of injuries that they are recovering in our hospitals. Madam Speaker, I want to send my quick recovery and wish them well. And also to thank the President, Madam Speaker, because that day President William Ruto was visiting Nandi when the incident happened, and he took time to go and commensurate with them, to condole with them, and wish them quick recovery, and gave them a support of 5 million to support Kapsabet School for the Deaf. And I think, Madam Speaker, that school needs a lot of support. These are our children that are different. And Madam Speaker, we need to tell Kenyans and everybody in this country that having a child who's differently able is not a curse. It's not a taboo. We have in this society, Madam Speaker, where parents are hiding their children who are PWDs or differently able. We must condemn. It is not an offense. It is not a taboo. It's not a curse. Madam Speaker, even if you interact with these people who are visually impaired, differently, people living with disability, Madam Speaker, they have some strong abilities that even normal human beings don't have. So we want to encourage parents to stop. And how can we stop that? Is by recognizing the role of PWDs as parliament, as was envisaged in this conference. So if as leaders we recognize the uniqueness of people living with disability, as a parliament we take the lead. And you know, leadership as leadership are dealers of hope. We must give hope to the people, Madam Speaker. And this disability truncates many things, Madam Speaker. And we want to appeal that as a country, we have the Disability Act, and I want to thank former Vice President Angomudi Owar, because he was the pioneer of prison reforms and also the Disability Act of 2003 that gave birth to Article 54. And Madam Speaker, Kenyans should not know that we are not discussing this report about parliament recognition. Under Article 54 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, people living with disability have been recognized. And in fact, 54(2) says that there shall be progressive implementation principle. At least 5% of members of the public in elective and appointive bodies are persons with disability. Madam Speaker, I want to appeal that we must do legislative audit. Because I can tell you, I have sat in Public Accounts Committee, and you are a member of Public Accounts Committee. All counties, including your county, Isiolo, have failed to meet the threshold of appointive positions of people living with disability. Even Kisii, even Omabe, even Nandi, Madam Speaker, and many other counties, including Muranga, they have failed in terms of Article 54(2) to meet the threshold that the Constitution has set. And I think as a House, this is a progressive implementation. Let us not even talk about the elective, Madam Speaker, because we need also to encourage Kenyans. It is 1 year to general election, Madam Speaker. We need to encourage Kenyans to elect people living differently able, because they are also leaders. We have Senator Mbugua, Madam Speaker, who is specially elected. We have Senator Crystal Asige, who is specially elected, Madam Speaker. These are disabilities that we can see. And I hope Kenyan Senator Onyonga, as they go for election, we must ensure we have a way of ensuring people living with disability have an opportunity to serve, Madam Speaker, in different capacities even they are living with disability, Madam Speaker. I'm not talking about disabilities in bedrooms, but I'm saying disabilities that are known, that can be seen. Madam Speaker, I want to challenge people living with disability. Under the Act, we must ensure people living with disability are able to access the IDs. I normally, Madam Speaker, you are a politician. Whenever we walk, you meet somebody living with disability. There was an Arambe for Chapter 8 Women's Star on Sunday afternoon in Mosoria Township, and I met one of the disabled people using a wheelchair, and they have not been given an ID card by people living with disability council, Madam Speaker. I want people living with disability to have their offices as lowest as the sub-location, the chief's level, so that our people can access the PWD card to allow them to get tax exemption, to allow them to get services, to allow them to be given priority. And I'm happy, Madam Speaker, even here in the Senate, even the design of the parliament, because we are discussing and even government buildings, it is so sad, Madam Speaker. And I remember when we visited the county headquarters where we were locked out in Isiolo, you were part of us. If you look at the design of that building, we noticed in the design there was no provision of access of ramps of people living with disability. And it is a sorry state in most of the government buildings that we don't have proper design to accommodate people living with disability. So I want to appeal to Kenyans that even people living with disability, I'm told there are quite a number. We used to have Mheshimiwa Sangok, the specially elect of Yala. He was with us. There are a number of Dr. Musuruve, who was a member, who was specially elected in the last session, Madam Speaker, and a number of our colleagues we have recognized. I think we should not leave the people living with disability to the mercy, to the philanthropy of our political parties for them to get to the office. Madam Speaker, especially coming. And this we will be doing in Article 54.2, the issue of persons of rights with disability, CRPD, protocol to the African Charter on Human Rights and Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is well captured, Madam Speaker, in this report. And also, I want to appeal because Article 54 recognizes the Braille sign language as a national language apart from English, Kiswahili, and sign language as Braille. Madam Speaker, they should be recognized with this. And Madam Speaker, we must also ask IEBC to come up with modalities on how people who are people living with disability can campaign, can participate in an electoral process. I'm saying this aware that yesterday there were heightened exchange of very not unpalatable words across the spectrum of this country, Madam Speaker. We saw yesterday, the last 2 days, there have been insults, demeaning, exchange of words, Madam Speaker, from the senior leadership of this country. And I hope as we go into the future, we should not, Madam Speaker, at least see that again, Madam Speaker, because, you know, we are a country. Our children watch all of us. Madam Speaker, we must ensure that our language, which we engage, are decent, Madam Speaker. And you know, Madam Speaker, somebody was asking, why did the president react? It's because, Madam Speaker, in one of our colleagues' funeral service, mother.
Click on iOS Upgrade here, then choose Upgrade. Reboot will automatically detect the latest iOS 18 version and the beta version. You can choose the iOS version you like if it's available. Then you need to download the firmware. After this, update your iPhone within minutes. No more waiting, no more getting stuck.
Reply. He should reply, Madam Speaker. And what he said is correct. Madam Speaker, to advise people to go gym is not an offense. Why are Kenyans taking an offense to tell? I can see Senator Onyonga likes giving fit. Madam Speaker, I normally meet him in health club, trying to be alert and be able to contribute to the discourse of this country, Madam Speaker. What is it hard, Madam Speaker? And I want to appeal to investigative agencies. One person who impregnated a young girl, the age of their children, Madam Speaker, they must be taken to court and prosecuted. We cannot, Madam Speaker, be talking about that. The reason I'm saying this, Madam Speaker, is that I am appealing to IEBC to come up with formula on how we can ensure our colleagues who are people living with disability can campaign, can vote, can participate, can be elected, so that they can sit in Parliament Republic of Kenya. My final comments, Madam Speaker, is on the issue is to further encourage African parliaments. I know Kenya is doing very well, but we have agreed with you, Madam Speaker, that we are yet to achieve the 5% on progressive implementation of Article 54 54-2, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the resolutions that has been made, I agree that we need regional secretariat to ensure that the progress and implementation are done, Madam Speaker. Members to report back on the resolutions of the previous conference, which is very brilliant. The CPS secretariat must and should include the issue of PWDs and Parliament as recognition, Madam Speaker, and also in Africa to fully implement, so that as Africa, as a continent, as African Parliament, we must and should, because I know Kenya can lead the way, Madam Speaker. You are aware that Kenya, in terms of representation, even on the issue of women, we now have 47 elected women in the National Assembly. We also are specially elect and majority are women. But I want to appeal that let these seats not be based on philanthropy. We want women, youth, people living with disability. Like you, Madam Speaker, you have been elected for 3 times straight as an elected member of the Senate, ranking, despite being of the female gender, Madam Speaker. And you have demonstrated that what a man can do, a woman can do better. What a PWD, what a normal human being or a normal senator can do, a PWD senator can do better than a normal senator, Madam Speaker. So I want to appeal, and it is challenged, and I'm proud, and I hope the cameras would be zooming to you, so that the young girls and women who want the leadership in this country can know that you can be elected in this house. You are the former deputy majority leader in the last session. You became the minority leader, Madam Speaker. You are the chair of National Security and Foreign Relations, Madam Speaker. This is a challenge to the minority and marginalized women, people living with disability, and the youth. Madam Speaker, I would have expected you also, although I didn't know the program of your committee, to be in Russia to pursue this issue of Russia, because I saw the chair of National Security also of the National Assembly, and I hope as the chair of National Security and Foreign Relations, you will update the House in the near future. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time, and we have a heavy agenda on the order paper, allow me to yield the mic back and say this is a report that is worth noting, that is worth being followed up. Let colleagues support so that we pass this motion and allow the people living with disability are not reduced to philanthropy, to being just being given handouts. They must recognize just like any other ordinary Kenyans. Madam Speaker, with those very many remarks, allow me to leave it there, and I second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate notes the report of the 3rd Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities African Region Conference held in Lusaka, Zambia from 24th to 28th February 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on 7th August 2025. The floor is open. I can see Senator Onyonka, you want to contribute? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The most upright and able accolades that my colleague has just bestowed upon you stand with exception. But everything else he has said that is political, I would want to, if I had a chance, expunge it out of the order paper. No, out of the Hansard. The reason for that is that the issues that he was bringing on forth, as much as he was making an argument for his side, I will raise 1 or 2 things. But I think, on a serious note, Madam Speaker, this is a very good document. Once again, our Republic of Kenya, produces some of the best policy papers, some of the interventions, on nearly everything. Madam Speaker, today, if you were to sit down and look whether we had an aeronautic engineer who is a space scientist, you would find a Kenyan who works in NASA. We are always very good in what we do. But you see, when you come locally, Madam Speaker, and try and look for interventions on what we are supposed to do for our people, we don't move. This is what has been contradictory to my interpretation of our political standing as a people, as a leadership. If, Madam Speaker, you were to look at the report and go to paragraph 7, the conclusions are actually in the report. Number 1, the report says there should be accessibility to voting. it's self-explanatory. Historically, if you look at the people with a disability or people who are able differently, you realize they're as good in performance as any of us. And yet, if you look at this house, for example, Madam Speaker, you see what our sister and the able senator from Mombasa, Asige. You look at Senator Kamau. You look at many of the people who have had these challenges. They actually perform well. They do an excellent job. They are knowledgeable, and they're people who deserve to be here. But then you see, Madam Speaker, when we start talking now on the nitty-gritty, accessibility to voting, do we even look at the polling stations, whether somebody with a disability will be given guidance? Do we even consider that some of these polling stations need a ramp so that if somebody is coming in with a wheelchair, they can actually have accessibility to that polling station? We don't. I remember I was in the National Assembly when there were, in fact, recommendations after the promulgation of the constitution that we have now. And there was a suggestion that all buildings, including all facilities, privately owned and national government owned, should be opened up and provide the necessary infrastructure so that people with disability can be able to access those buildings. That hasn't been done. I believe that this House can engage itself so that we don't become a talk shop, Madam Speaker. The reason I raise this issue is because, number two, go to representation in government, whether it is the national government, whether it is the county government, and indeed, you notice that my brother, Honorable Chirchir, my brother and a man I highly respect, only talked about county governments. But even the national government has left a gap where deliberately look at the people who are appointed. They are all able people, and the reality is that it looks like nobody considers, or even if somebody was to consider this position, you would find that nobody would care to listen. The third issue they have raised is civic engagement. Of course, to a large extent, people with disability who have been deliberately and publicly engaging themselves and raising the issues and becoming activists. Many of them have been in these national organizations, civic society organizations, raising and putting out the information which needs to be received by people with disability so that then we can mitigate where they are. You come to the fourth issue, the legal policy frameworks. If you look at this policy framework, one of the things that I'm very advantaged, Madam Speaker, is that I sit at the Health Committee, and one of the things that we've been looking at is what are we going to do with, for example, children who have got disability and who have got incapacity, because some of the diseases they have are diseases that are not easily managed by either their parents or even the county governments. And I'm happy that the Committee for Health is working on this so that then we can begin to classify and handle our people when they have these challenges, especially our children. Madam Speaker, if you go down to the item number 6, which they have presented here, education and awareness, the truth is very many children who have disability, and this disability is not physical per se. There are children who have mental disability. There are children who have other disabilities which are now being investigated by science, and conclusions which previously had been misinterpreted are now being given a forward value. And the point we should be engaged ourselves is what happens with those children when we go to the schools. Because some of the buildings are actually 3, 4, 5 floors. And yet you'll find that from 3, they are placed on floor number 4. Because the ground floor is where the administration block is. What do we do with those children with disability? Because my observation, Madam Speaker, is that some of these children, indeed, we are treating them as if we are punishing them. And that is why you have to allow somebody who's on a wheelchair or who's not able to walk, even if they walk with a stick. These young children or young men and women who go to our schools and universities and all the colleges, you find that we have not engaged ourselves to come with interventions and policies which are going to make it more bearable and more acceptable for them to survive within this environment under which we live in, where we feel that we are extremely secure and we are comfortable, and it doesn't matter where our people are going to be. The last one, Madam Speaker, is the issue of technology and innovation. I believe that when we are coming to look at this as a policy initiative, we have to look at the possibility of some of the cases of children and individuals who have got these disabilities, some of them which are mental, have been found that they are actually extremely intelligent. Some of them have become extremely good painters.
Make a move with Hostinger Cell. For just $4.99 a month, get AI-managed VPS from Hostinger. Run your server by chatting with AI. Handle everything from performance monitoring to security updates. Scale with a network speed of 1 gigabit per second, plus free weekly backups and more. Try for 30 days without risk. Join more than 4 million people going online with Hostinger. Turn one day into day one with AI-enabled VPS. Go for it at hostinger.com.
Now talking about themselves in an uncouth manner and basically exposing their ignorance and many other things. Madam Speaker, we know for sure that it is completely unfortunate that you can find leaders who are willing to body shame each other. How fat you are, how thin you look. Imagine, Madam Speaker, if this is the narrative that our leaders are bringing out, imagine if you were disabled and you were criticizing government and you started talking about either our bad behaviors of corruption, mismanagement of public resources, and you are a governor. Somebody will start talking about how your legs are looking funny. Somebody will say how your hands are spaced or they look in a certain manner. And I think we must begin to look at our country a bit differently. And this is what I've said, Madam Speaker, that our leadership must know that whatever we say has a direct impact on how the public understands who we are. Some of these things we are calling each other. Look at what is going to happen in schools now. Some of our children are going to find it's normal. You can pick a friend even if he disagrees with you and tells you not to do certain things because they're either against the law or they're things that you should not do. And if you are a person with disability or somebody who has got a challenge whereby you are not even able to walk, then that's the case where you're going to have some of the students who are going to come up and say, why is he criticizing and talking to us about things which are A, B, C, D, and yet this is how this person is. He's either blind or this person is. I mean, you can imagine, Madam Speaker, if my sister, the able Senator Sige, was to now start talking about the challenges that the government is having. Most likely, somebody is going to say some uncouth and untoward things about her. And yet, in reality, that's our job. Our job is to say, be given our ability to say, and let the government have its way. That is what this democracy thing is all about. But again, we always go back to our bad habits. When you've lost an argument in Kenya, then you begin to throw epithets. Then you begin to talk about your leadership, how it is inept, or how the leadership. I mean, Madam Speaker, you were there. You saw how everybody in our republic went out and they were saying how Mzee Raila was the most incredible man who was really amazing, and he is a man who stood for democracy and he was fighting for all these things. And yet, Madam Speaker, the year before, how he was being called is a mganga. He's a guy who can't talk well. In fact, he has got mental problems. So you understand the irony of where we are. But this is, Madam Speaker, a very good document. And I believe that if we can sit as a committee, and I hope that the Committee of Health and the other cross-cutting committees can sit down and we come up with policy of helping people who have got disabilities, children who are suffering from various ailments which are very difficult to even interpret to a normal doctor. It will be a very, very good document. I support, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will speak very briefly so that I can just give my colleagues opportunity to also make a comment. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate the Honorable Senator Mbogwa and the team that went for this Commonwealth Association meeting. Madam Speaker, and I also just wanted to say only one issue. I wanted to pick up only one issue, Madam Speaker. one of the recommendations was that the parliaments must develop policies that are friendly to legislators living with disability. Madam Speaker, this is the thing. In this parliament, we have seen in practice that our constructions and our buildings are friendly to our colleagues who are living with disability. And Madam Speaker, I must say here that in my many years past in the National Assembly, we had a former member of parliament. We just broke out for a session and we came back and he had been attacked by bandits and he was never able to walk again. So this can happen to anybody. In short, Madam Speaker, we are all potential PWDs. And it is good that this parliament in general has complied with trying to make Parliament accessible, Senate accessible, National Assembly accessible. The only thing, Madam Speaker, the PSC needs to do is to create this policy so that we have a policy paper officially. Because if it is there, Madam Speaker, it has not been publicized to all of us. I know there is a policy on sexual harassment, but I have not heard of a policy on PWDs within this parliament. So, Madam Speaker, I would invite the Secretariat to make these things available. And even when new members come, these policy documents should be made available aside from the Speaker's rules, from the Constitution and the standing orders. The policy papers, the policy documents must be made available. And Mr. Speaker, on this one, we haven't seen, and I would encourage the Secretariat to do so in keeping with the resolutions that were passed in this report. Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Senator Mutinda, next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm happy to see you taking the leadership role. As women, we are proud and continue being proud. I want to really appreciate the delegation that did attend the 3rd Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disability, represented by our colleagues, Senator Mbugua, Senator Crystal, and this is very positive. I want to state in short, Madam Speaker, because I know we have limited time, and said that the PWDs Act 2025 did emphasize on the 5% workforce employment in the workspaces, and also the elements of infrastructure for people with disability. Any public institution should ensure that the infrastructure is suitable for accessibility for people with disability. As Senator Mungatana has correctly put it, disability is not necessarily that you're born with. Any day, any time, it can hit you. And we should all be prepared that anything is possible and anything can happen. I wanted to narrow to 2 issues, Madam Speaker, the education sector and the health sector. Currently, as we speak as a health committee, we're prosecuting a bill, and that is the autism bill, Madam Speaker. And from where we sit as a committee, you find that autism has been narrowed to sort of just as simple as a disability. But it is just beyond a disability, because you find that the Ministry of Education...
From communication to project management to knowledge management in one app, accelerated by the world's most productive AI. 4.0 is the epicenter for all of your work and collaboration. It's the beginning of a new meta-category of apps that will define the next generation of software in the AI age. And it ushers in a new era of craft and quality for ClickUp's product. We've always said that using ClickUp saves you 1 day every week, but I'm confident that you're going to save a lot more than that with 4.0. Because when all of your work converges into one app, one tab, one AI workspace, everything just clicks.
With autism, Madam Speaker, because they are very special category, Madam Speaker. Data is in place to ensure that we get to know how many people genuinely are in the database of people with disability in this country. How many as well are with autism, Madam Speaker, because the issues of autism are very critical. And lastly, Madam Speaker, so that I give my colleague time to say a few things. I've noticed that even in this chamber and Senate, we do not have a sign language expert. As much as we are talking about people with disability, it needs to start here. We need to set the example. We pass legislation, Madam Speaker. But today, Madam Speaker, in your gallery, at times we have visitors. How sure are we that all of them can hear what we say? How comes this house has not put a person who has the expertise of a sign language throughout so that they are able to communicate to Kenyans? Someone, what I see normally on TV when they're broadcasting news, aside there's someone who does the sign language. It should be there in such a way that as I speak, then there's somebody there, the way they normally put it, the IT people, that communicates what I say. So as much as we are appreciating, but we need, charity begins at home. And I think Senate can lead by example, by the office of the clerk, the office of the speaker, prioritizing someone for sign language to be able to be here throughout these sessions, to be able to do what is needful, Madam Speaker. Politically, there has been words which have been thrown yesterday, as early as yesterday. I thought my big brother, Senator Onyonka, will be in the house. When you say that this person should not have said this, he's the head of state, and all that. But why did they not speak when their leader started throwing these words? How comes when he was throwing those words, for him it is okay? And when the other leader also throws out some words, then there's a problem. With those many and few, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Senator Korir.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. As it has been said by my colleagues, allow me also to congratulate you for raising and being in an elective position for the 3 times. And I also want to wish you the best in the coming elections, Madam Speaker, because I know you are up to the task. Madam Speaker, I just want to support the report that has been brought forward by the members of the Commonwealth parliamentarians on disabilities. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, that people living with disability in this country have been undergoing a lot of challenges, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I come from Bomet County, where I want to say, Madam Speaker, the report that is in front of us has really touched on a number of issues that are affecting these people, Madam Speaker. Despite the fact that the government have tried in terms of making sure that they address the issues of the infrastructure, accessibility of the accessibility in some of the buildings. There is the issue of incorporation of the people living with disability with others in the primary schools. Madam Speaker, I still want to say that I feel they are not also recognized in a better way, because there are a number of them who are still languishing in buffer, Madam Speaker.
Senators, now it's 1 p.m. Senator Korir, you will have a balance of 13 minutes when this motion is next listed on the order paper. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 18th March 2026 at 2:30 p.m.